Okay, so continued story. Hopefully it continues recording. So I record all these videos. There's 14 of them. I know I've said this like 6 times already. So there's many of these videos. And so the file destination, because I had to use my work PC, is literally C drive dash big dick Corey. And I had to load these videos into Google Drive. Well, I forgot that our design team, they open up the files to make sure that they're shot in the correct resolution. Yeah. So they go into the file properties. So it's got to be the right resolution. And of course, it's got to be MP4 format. No one said anything, but I know they saw it. I know for a fact. So I was waiting to hear from our design team today, like, hey, man, why is the original file destination on there say Big Dick Corey on it? And then it was weird because I loaded them like early yesterday, and then my boss called me at he zoomed me at like 4:00 and was like, hey, do you got a minute? And I was just like, fuck. Not that like, is that like a offense you get in trouble for? I had to use my personal PC to do something for work because my work laptop didn't support it. It just happens to be my username. So I was thinking that, but I don't think that was it. Because he told me, he was just like, yeah, he's like, no, we'll just table the conversation for next week. I'm like, oh, thank God. Not a fireable offense because we didn't have to discuss it in the immediate. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, someone's definitely going to see this. And there's like 5 different hands that like touch these videos to like format them and put them all together. And I was like, for sure they fucking saw that in there. And then I didn't realize you could clear the data until after the fact. And I was like, damn it. Why did I not clear the data on this? So there's a bunch of Big Dick Corey files sitting in the
metadata.
Yep. Hey, whoops. My bad.
On the subject about dicks, filling everybody up on my progress report for my no sperm count.
Yeah.
I look like a nectarine.
Yeah, so it's orange.
It's a combination of like orange, tans, some dark reds where it's kind of ripening more in one area than the other.
Like a plum?
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of like a plum, but not like full on dark red or black.
Okay.
It's more like a nectarine. And I still have like the little incision mark, and
it hasn't like busted open, has it?
No, it's closed now, which is good. But it's just like really hard to masturbate.
Right. Like I would imagine so.
So people, you could think of this as being sick or just like, oh, he's got a problem. Why is he talking about masturbating? It's for science, people. Like,
well, it's not for science.
I
mean, it is, but it's
technically for science. Yeah, right. But they said we don't recommend you doing any sexual activity until after the first week or longer.
I like how they're like, we recommend you don't, but surely we only say we recommend.
And then they're like, wait a week before you masturbate and stuff, because I have to do it like 20 times. Yeah, I gotta do it like 20 times before like I actually get tested to see if there's any sperm. But I was like, yeah, but can you do it at day 3 because I really want to get through this process. And they're like, well, we don't really recommend it, but you can. So I did it at day 3, and I've never been so delicate with myself.
Probably took 6 hours.
It was such a delicate.
Did you have to light a candle and play some music?
It was almost like that, and it wasn't even like a full-on grip or jerking that thing up and down. It was more like like petting a small bird.
Reminds me of the Dumb and Dumber scene with the bird with his head cut off. Hey, pretty bird.
Pretty bird. Pretty much. So that was basically like the first day.
That's so one. I don't know that I would enjoy that activity when it's got to be so clinical,
It's very clinical.
But also at the same time, it essentially does give you a pass, right? Like, because like, I feel like in this instance, you don't have to do anything in secret. You don't have to sequester yourself to a solo location or confine yourself to a private room, because it is essentially a medical procedure of which you have to perform in order to make sure that there's no fluid sperm that is exiting your body. I feel like you get a pass to really just masturbate wherever you want.
This is not for enjoyment. This is medicinal at best.
Yeah. Like you're like, ugh, I gotta go fucking jerk off again. Like, I feel like you get a pass, just do it like in the middle of wherever you want. I mean, ideally, that's what you should be able to do. Like, you're just sitting in the living room. You're like, hey, it's that time again. I gotta rub one out. You're welcome to stay, or, you can go to another room, but I feel like 15 minutes.
I feel like this circumstance is like watching a mom breastfeed in a park, where it's like, yeah, well, that's acceptable. Like, she's feeding her child. Right. I know boobs can be sexual, right? But she's feeding her child. I feel like when you have a vasectomy, I should be allowed to be in a park and just masturbate. And people are like, oh, you can't People, you don't understand.
Right. This is for medical purposes.
I have to do 20 of them.
They should give you a card
for medicinal reasons.
You should get a card that you can carry around.
I'm not doing this for enjoyment. This is not sexual for me. Right. This is purely me doing what is necessary from a medicinal standpoint, And that's, but yeah, I should be allowed to be in a park and do this.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable request.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the collective doctor community, the urologist community, hasn't come together and made this suggestion. Public masturbation, for those of which have to make sure that everything was sound with the procedure. You're right. This is all based in medical science.
Yeah.
This is something that your doctor has requested you do. You should get a doctor's note. There should be, like, women get pregnant, they got to get doctor's notes for the maternity leave, for FMLA. You should have the same benefits as somebody who goes through that procedure. I don't 100%. Disagree. I don't disagree. Speaking of penises, did you hear? So this is interesting, because about a year ago, there was, I would say a little less than a year ago, one of my favorite comedians, actually two of my favorite comedians,
yes,
were kind of damned in terms of these weird sexual allegations. One being Chris D'elia, one being Bryan Callen, two of my favorite comedians. And man, that was like a big shock when it happened, because they were two comedians I've seen live. I've seen both of them live. I listen to their podcasts on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I admire them both for their comedic talents. And it's kind of my lane of comedy, both of them, even though they're different. And both of them happen to be really good friends with one another. So during these allegations, both had essentially just kind of quit doing the things that they were doing. Chris D'elia, I think, having the most negative impact for the implications against him. Bryan Callen, I think, just more so kind of faded in the background. And I think he knew and would defend himself, but didn't want to disrupt anything else that he was doing. So both this week had literally come back into the comedic fold. Bryan Callen has been doing stuff on his own, but like I've listened to him on a podcast called The Fighter and Kid, literally for 6 years, and never miss an episode. Literally, I've never missed one. And he finally came back onto the show this week, and he was on 2 times in the past week. And it was good to see him back. And he talked a little bit about the allegations publicly in terms of, here's what happened. Here's the things that came against me. I'm telling you, these things didn't happen. This is an allegation that someone suggested happened in the 90s. Like, let's get over
the 90s.
His was from like 1999.
Like the Saved by the Bell years?
Pretty much, but like the later years, where they're where you're like, they don't look like they're in high school anymore. Actually, I would argue probably college years at that point. And they still didn't look like they're in college. They looked like they were 30. So it was interesting, the timing of that. And it was good to see him back on the show. He's as funny as ever. And then I saw yesterday, and it actually happened earlier this week, that Chris D'elia finally released a statement, and he released it on his YouTube channel as far as like what went down with him. because he fell off the face of the earth. It was like June or July last year. And then boom, he was gone. No social media, no podcast, no public announcements, nothing. No, he like wrote a letter. That was it. And that was right at the beginning. So he dropped this video, and I'm not going to play the video because the video is 10 minutes long. And I don't think we have time for that. But one of the things that he says, and I guess I'll summarize it. Well, I won't summarize it. This is a direct quote from him. He said, I thought in my mind that being straight up with these women, because it was all sexual allegations from women that he was DMing while he was on the road and he was hooking up with them. He said, I thought in my mind that being straight up with these women was the right thing to do. Come onto my hotel. Let's have sex. Let's make out. Let's do this. Let's do that. That's what I thought was right. And through the 10 minutes of the video, roughly, he expressed that. And the allegations were against him when these girls were underage. He has adamantly denied that. He goes, everything was consensual. Like there was no rape allegations, no underage, like, you know, very much expressed like 18 older, but he didn't deny that he did these things. And he's got a wife and a kid, and his kid was literally born like at the time all these allegations came forward. Oh, shit. So it was been a rough year for him. So, but he's like kind of coming back now. So Chris D'elia is, I think, getting ready to mount his comeback into the comedy scene. And for the first time, literally since like last June, he posted on Instagram today, and it was a video of his kid. I think his kid's name is Jack, which is a fucking weird name for a kid these days. But
Jack,
Jack. Is that a weird name for a kid in 2021? Wait, is it 2021? It is 2021. I thought Jack was a weird name. It's a weird choice of a name. But you know, he's working through some things with his wife, and he's in therapy and the whole thing. So like, Chris, you know Chris D'elia, and you've watched his comedy before. You've seen his specials. What do you think in terms of like, so Chris D'elia coming back into the fold in comedy? Is it like worth watching, or is it not worth watching anymore? Is he worth investing any time into at this point?
Chris D'elia.
D'elia. People always say D'elia. I'm like, how the fuck do you get that?
Do I think he's worth watching? Yeah. I want to hear what he's got to say, because you cannot deny for 1 minute that 10 minutes of that special, likely in the very beginning, will be specifically addressing this.
Yeah, like Kevin Hart did something similar when he was caught cheating on his wife. Like he addressed it in a comedy special.
Yeah, like it's going to come out.
Not in the funniest way, but yeah. But like Netflix canceled a show that he was going on with them. He was dragged by all of his agencies. He was in a movie, The Army of the Dead, which he was like posting pictures of on set through most of 2019. They recast his character in that. Like he got fucked way worse than Bryan Callen, because the allegations are different. I think the scenario is different. And I won't argue that, but he was like, dude, he was Louis C. fucking Cade. It was like, you done. So I'm wondering if it's going to be the same kind of comeback, because Louis C.K. came back and his fans stood behind him and kind of came back even stronger, even though still nobody will really touch his shit in terms of networks. But I always thought Chris D'elia was one of the funniest comedians I've ever heard, like hands down. I've seen him live, and it was the best shows I've ever seen. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. Like if you listen, I wish we had fucking 10 minutes to listen to it. But if you listen to his, like what happened and kind of an apology, and Lauren and I were talking about yesterday, we were listening to it on the way to the park. To me, there's a lot of people who like loved what he said and was glad he said it. To me, it seemed super disingenuous and almost really self-serving, that it wasn't necessarily apologetic to the situation, but it was just more like, hey, I'm apologizing because I really need to get back to work. That's the feeling that I got when I listened to it, which is pretty disingenuous. I just didn't feel authentic to me, just like to my core. I'm not dismissing the things that he was saying. It's not really the content. It's more the context. But either way, he's so fucking funny. I kind of want to see him come back. Bryan Callen, I'm excited to see come back. And if you're not into comedy right now, you probably don't give a fuck about what I'm saying, but
it's just, it's sad.
It's a little sad.
You rise to stardom, right? And we all have our little things that we're into, right? We got our all little things.
Right? I mean, I'm not into like banging girls every city I'm in.
No, but we all have our own little quirks and our kinks, right?
He said, by the way, let me disrupt you just real quick. He said he would get 50 DMs on average per night after a show, and he would respond to every single one of them looking for a hookup. That sounds exhausting. Like, you listen to a lot of comedians, it's like they're done with the show. They're like, I just want to go back and fucking sleep. Like, I need to get some rest. I got to get an early flight. Not Chris D'elia. He's out there probably fucking popping a couple of those sweet little blue pills, and he's ready to make a night of it. Anyway, what were you saying about little corpse?
Everybody's got kinks, you know, whether you like dressing up in costumes or inviting a stranger into your bedroom or sticking like a metal thing up your bum or doing an animal or pretending you are the animal or finding it erotic to smear yourself in human feces or trying to hook up with a paraplegic, or literally just mutilating yourself.
Yeah, I assume you're just talking about yourself at this point. Things that you're
into. All I'm saying is people are into some shit, you know, but it's behind closed doors, right? And these are people that don't see the public eye. We know they exist.
Okay, well, let's suggest this for a second. So the extreme part of the allegations were that these girls, it was non-consensual and some of them were underage, right?
Right.
Let's just say those two things don't exist and it's consensual. Legally, there's no repercussions. Right. But what do you think about it from a morality perspective? He's got a fiance and a kid at this time. You know,
he's cheating.
Going down.
He's like,
but my question is that should that cause you to lose your representative at these agencies, to lose a show on Netflix, to be recast from a different movie? Should your career and your life essentially be pulled apart because of something like this, especially if there was no charges made? Because in his case, no charges have been brought forward.
Yeah. I think each company has the right to do business that follows their moral and ethical belief system. Not to say that's right or wrong.
Interesting.
But they have that right. So I think if it goes against their moral and ethical beliefs, and it could be damaging to that or be counter to that, then yeah, if it doesn't line up, if that whole boardroom at NBC was like, we don't cheat on our wives with underage girls,
which they
that's humbug.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me put a spin on this for a second. Do you think that, let's say, Netflix executives, CBS executives, big broadcast networks or streaming platform executives care about certain moral obligations when it comes to money? So what trumps what? Because you look at someone like Chris D'elia, where his career was on the rise and he's making these organizations money. So does the moral high ground trump the almighty dollar? Because I would argue in Chris D'Elia's case, because Chris D'elia, again, was a star on the rise, was, contractually working to create more Netflix specials, had a Netflix show. Do you think it's more of a morality standpoint from those places, or is it the backlash that they could potentially receive from the public by standing behind somebody when no charges are brought forward?
Tricky. It's all tricky. You know what? I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer.
I think honestly, my personal belief is none of them have any moral high ground at all.
No, they don't.
I think what it is that they can't handle the public pressure. So once the public, Twitter, we'll call them Twitter, we'll call them the trolls and the haters, right? Once there's public backlash of these allegations are brought forward, some of these things that he's done, which may breach, I would say challenge some people's morals and ethics to a degree. I don't think a Netflix gives a shit about that. I think they look at it and say, okay, well, the consumers of which pay for our service every single month, we can't compromise that. So if that means getting rid of someone like Chris D'elia as to not compromise subscriptions and people paying for our services, we're going to nix him, even if no charges have been brought forward. That's where I think it comes from.
Maybe.
I think because here's the thing. Cheating and, acts like that. Like, dude, I hate to say it, but it's like, who doesn't do that in Hollywood?
No, I know.
I'm
just thinking of generalities. It's like having the Boy Scouts and hiring a pedophile. Huh?
Well, those two things are synonymous.
But you see my point?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask.
Like, would you hire someone like Netflix is hiring them, right? Or an NBC is hiring them.
Right.
And they cater to a particular audience, right? That particular audience may be kids, they may be adults, they might be parents, right?
Right.
And you represent those people and you give them content that represents those people, and you pick people that follow that same moral and ethical standard, at least to your knowledge. And then, something like this comes to light and you're running fucking Camp Jelly Jam with a bunch of Boy Scouts, and then you find out camp counselor Denny was this week charged for pedophilia. Yeah. And do you want a bunch of parents and children to be scared and upset about camp counselor Denny? Or are you going to get rid of Denny before anything shit hits the fan? You're going to get rid of Denny.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the difference. Denny's doing something illegal, and Denny's not making the Boy Scouts millions of dollars. So let's just say you're a Netflix executive.
Yeah.
And Chris D'elia's new show or Chris D'elia's special is going to net you millions of dollars. Allegations come forward in terms of non-consensual and underage. Allegations, not charges. There hasn't been sufficient evidence brought forward to charge him with any of these things. Is it fair for those places to say, we don't care if there is supported evidence or not supported evidence? You are done. Or do you have an obligation to back somebody until, dude, it's innocent until proven guilty. We live in an opposite society now because people do their damnedest to vocalize
you're guilty as soon as someone accuses you.
That's my point. You literally just hit it on the head. You are guilty as soon as an accusation is made, not charges being brought forward and not convicted. Two very different things.
Hey. All right. Back to Camp Jelly Jam with camp counselor Denny.
Listen, Denny isn't making millions.
No, I know. But let's just say a child says, Denny touched me.
Right.
Oh, we got a kid now. Now, we can't prove it, but we did hear from this kid.
Right.
That Denny touched him. Now, did we back up Denny? Or do we just forego any potential risks by keeping him on the staff? Or make him make leave, right? Until we can figure out what's happening. But ultimately, Denny ain't going to be there for the rest of the weekend.
That's a great point. That's actually a good counter argument. So Denny's gone. Now let me ask you this question.
Sure.
What if through evidence and through other findings, through an investigation, they find Denny didn't touch that kid and he's not a pedophile?
Yeah.
Does Denny get his job back?
Well, I think it's the responsibility of Camp Jelly Jam to do some type of PR. Like, hey, I know we were all concerned that camp counselor Denny was touching your children, but the facts have come to light
that he was only touching their minds and hearts and not their bodies.
Correct. The only thing he's touched is everyone's hearts. And he is innocent. We stand behind Denny. Yes, he had to take a leave. We're sorry. It was non-paid vacation, Denny. But he did take leave so that we could investigate these matters before deciding on an outcome that is best for not only Denny, but also your children.
All right. So in Chris D'elia's case, and I know we've spent a lot of time talking about this, but I like the hypotheticals. In Chris D'elia's case, if no charges are brought forward through an investigation, the accusations fizzle out, or at any point, any one of these girls who DMs them says, you know what, I lied, because that often happens too. This was a fib. This was my way of getting my 15 minutes of fame, whatever it may be. Let's just imagine those things happen hypothetically, or just at a minimum, no charges are brought against him, and they won't be. Case, like, let's just say investigation, they say case is shut, it's over. Chris D'elia is absolved of any wrongdoing other than cheating, which tons of those people do. Do you afford him the right to come back and participate on your streaming platform or in your movie? Does he get that right? Does he get those things back? And should he get those things back? Does he get dennied?
I think people are already going to turn a blind eye to him, right? It's like, oh, he did this shit. That's the only thing I need to hear. I'm never going to listen to anything else about him, right? Like, people are just going to blatantly just ignore anything that comes out after the fact. That's just how we are.
Yeah.
Like, the first thing
that's kind of a human condition.
Yeah, the first thing we hear is what we stick to, right?
Right. Not me, though.
Not me.
I'm a Chris D'elia fan, so I'm waiting for him to get back to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, they should. I feel like they should. In fact, I'd give him a bonus.
We're really sorry.
We're really sorry.
Stood behind you.
Hey, we were concerned. We thought it was possible. I mean, look at you. But we're glad you don't do it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, Chris, our bad, bro. Listen. That 2 weeks you were off, we did send you in like an Olive Garden gift card for $50. That's on us. Don't expect to pay us back for that. You got your job back. There's not an increase in pay. In fact, we have to actually lower it because we had to cancel production timeline, which actually ate into the cost of production. So we have to decrease your income on the show.
We're gonna 1099 you that one too.
Yeah, we got 1099, but we are giving you a gift card to Olive Garden for $50. So if you want to take, I don't know if it'll cover you and your wife and your child. I don't know, maybe, but it's unlimited breadsticks too. They've never gotten rid of that. So even if you ran out of your like penne pasta with like spicy Diavolo sauce, you could still get breadsticks to fill you up.
Yeah. All right. I think it's an interesting conversation to have because, again, when there's no charges,
yeah,
and the if someone literally says investigation over, there's not enough evidence here to support that he did any of these things for all intents and it never goes to trial. It's just say your innocence through the fact that there is no supporting evidence to any of these allegations.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you have an obligation as these platforms to bring him back and to support him and to be behind him. And you can't use the whole ethical and moral compass conversation because the reality is, and everybody knows this, whether it's out in the spotlight or not, is that every one of those motherfuckers does the same shit.
Yeah, totally.
You cannot say for a second that if you're wielding that kind of power at a streaming platform like someone like Netflix, that you haven't done some wrong shit. You have. You just haven't been caught. But you have. I think they owe it to him to support him personally. I
think so too.
If nothing else comes of it, I think they owe it to him to support him, and I'm actually excited for him as Bryan Callen's comeback. All right, let's move on. We do have a review today.
Yeah,
we're back. We're actually back with our friends. Our friends, Hiram, and Solomon.
Oh, Solomon. It's, hey, you're going Solomon. Hey.
Doesn't kind of sound like a couple Star Wars characters?
Kind of.
Hiram and Solomon.
Ooh, it definitely sounds very D&D.
Oh, it does sound D&D. Like, I would say Hiram is a wizard. And
totally.
Solomon is probably
He's the evil. He's the evil wizard. Or yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we are breaking down today the Master Mason. Are you excited about this?
I am. I really am.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we broke down a Hiram and Solomon cigar. The first one we did was a Fellow Craft. That was a long time ago. And then we did the Grand Architect as a part of a Boutique Week episode. That was also a while back. So we've never made our way to the Master Mason, but are doing so today. But before we actually get into the breakdown of the cigar, Chris, can you tell everybody how we break these down?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna commit. I've committed it to memory, Corey, and I'm going to perform it flawlessly. Um, each cigar review is broken down by three main categories. I don't know why I say main. It's really just three categories, as if to apply their subcategories. Um, construction's one, burn is two, and flavor is three. I do know that.
Flavo.
Then we see if the cigar is worth the price for a possible bonus or deduction. And then, this part's important. We then see if the cigar is worth the price, and we average out our individual scores, giving you guys our total, not only score between the both of us, but even our recommendation based on that score.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
All right. So we are again breaking down the Hiram and Solomon Master Mason. Here are the components of the cigar reader. By the way, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you find the release date on this cigar?
Nope.
I couldn't find it. I want to say 2017, but I don't know if that's accurate.
But if it is Masonic, it could be much older in nature.
Could be from the 1400s.
It really could be.
Either way, it boasts a Habano Maduro Oscuro, which is really weird that someone could be Habano Maduro Oscuro.
Hey, that is fair.
What does that even really? Wait, what the fuck does that mean anyway?
That's like cryptic.
Is this tricolor? Like, what does that even mean?
That's like some cryptic, like Mason shit, like a fucking puzzle.
I think it just doesn't make sense. I think maybe I
think you need a cipher.
Did you input the same thing on your sheet? Because that's what I have. But
mine is so mysterious that I have empty columns.
Interesting. Okay, so I know it has an Indonesian Sumatran binder, and it's a vast combination of Nicaraguan fillers from different regions in Nicaragua. We smoked this in a Grand Tour, which is a 6x56, so it's quite a large donger, and it comes in at an average $11 price point.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll figure out the components of the cigar later. I may just ask Fuad what's actually in here and like actually give me the breakdown so we're not misrepresenting it. But let's get into it. So what did you think about the construction on this really excessively large? Actually, it's not that large, but it is an over average size donger.
It is. And the thing is like when this cigar was constructed and blended, they solicited the help of Master Mason. Now, Master Mason is an interesting character himself. He runs a dojo out of San Diego. He's a sensei, but they call him Master. And he's a bit of a cuckoo, eclectic person. So when Hiram and Solomon brought him in to help blend the cigar, they're like, well, what color do you want it to be? And he's like, real dark brown. Okay. And then he goes, but I want it reddish too. And they're like, well, I don't know if we can do that, but also like a Habano color, like a lighter color. Like, I don't know if we can do that. Like, I don't know if we can do that.
It doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah. But I think they kind of rolled with it. They're like, yeah, he's a little out of his fucking mind. He's like fucking tripping off of LSD from like the 70s and 80s. But I feel like they kind of pulled it off.
Do you explain? I want detail. I want to know what your eyes saw that mine didn't.
What's weird is
as I'm wearing glasses at night.
so Habano, Oscuro, and Maduro, right?
Right. It almost seems like a combination of each one of those shades, which would essentially average out to Maduro.
Right. But what was crazy about it is it kind of, I guess maybe under certain lighting conditions, I could kind of see it, kind of. Yeah. I think you'd really see it if you're on LSD, like Master Mason was.
Maybe that's to it. Maybe, their hashtag is discover our secrets. Maybe they have a secret in terms of how they interlace their wrapper types.
Totally. Now,
we just don't have an understanding because we aren't part of that secret society. Maybe you have to be an honorary Mason to understand the complexity of this wrapper type.
to understand Master Mason, you have to become Master Mason.
Yeah.
You have to
time for that.
Live, breathe, eat shit, and get high like Master Mason did.
Did I ever tell you? Remember when we talked to Fuad and he was talking about how he wanted us to become Masons?
Yeah.
And through that process, he kind of told us like, okay, there's this book that you have to read, and then you have to essentially be voted in. And I didn't know this, but I was talking to my father-in-law about this, and he was just like, yeah, he's like, I was real serious about becoming a Master Mason, or a Mason, not a Master Mason, a Mason at one time. I said, what stopped you? And he goes, dude, they make you read a fucking book. I was like,
hey.
Yeah, they do. And he was just like, he's like, I'm not committing my time to reading that book. I'm like, that's what I said. Like,
all education starts with textbooks. We know this. It's been around for hundreds of years.
Right. Yeah.
But like before you drove a car, you had to read a book, right? You had to read a book about cars.
Yeah, but don't we think books are maybe a little outdated at this point?
Yeah, I think VR could fix it.
And I mean,
but here's what I'll say. I wasn't high for this cigar, but I will say that the appearance of this cigar was quite interesting.
Okay.
Not only was it bordering on what I would consider an oscuro, but
agreed. Keep going.
But mine had a reddish hue to it. Like a really warm, rich color to it. Almost like it was almost like if an Oscuro and Rosado made love and had a baby.
Okay.
But it was such an interesting color. Now, it was a very firm, well-constructed, well-packed cigar. It had a mild grittiness to it, to the texture, but not like we would typically see like a Connecticut, like a Connecticut broadleaf or, like San Andreas or anything like that. But it even had a mild sheen to it, which was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. All in all, I think the wrapper is kind of an anomaly to me when I look at it. And when you read off the description of what that is, it makes more sense that it doesn't make sense when I look at it. But it's a well-constructed cigar. Yeah,
I think what's happening is the descriptor is shaping the visual perspective that you have.
Maybe.
Almost like it's like, this thing is red, white, and blue, and you're like, fuck, it is. And then everyone else is looking at it, it's a gray wall. And you're like, God, it is red, white, and blue. No, it's just gray. I think the description is creating an illusion for you. I thought it, like you, I thought it aired more on the side of Oscuro. I thought it was much darker wrapper type. I don't think it really even had much Maduro characteristic to it. Maybe slightly lighter than a traditional Oscuro. But certainly a pretty dark wrapper type. And in comparison, if you look at the Fellow Craft and you look at some of the other things that they have and their lineup, it is significantly darker. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty dark chocolatey kind of wrapper type. I was surprised that there was little oil expression on the cigar. I just assumed there would be more, and I don't know why. Mine was a little bumpy and it was a little veiny. I actually thought this was a good analogy for mine. It almost seemed dehydrated. You ever seen those? Do you ever see those physique competitors that their vascularity is just through the roof? You see every fucking. That's literally what the cigar looked like to me. It just seemed like it was like void of any moisture. But the different. I mean, what's crazy is it was in a very controlled environment for me. It just had that characteristic in the wrappers.
It's like, maybe I'm reading into it too much. Like.
You are.
Like Master Mason's in front of me at the dojo, and he's like, now, when you look at this, what colors do you see? I just see brown, Master Mason. No.
Look beyond
the color brown. Tell me what colors you see. I see brown. No. You're not getting what I'm saying. Look closer. I'm looking closer. Yeah, look right there. I'm looking right there, Master Mason. What do you see? I kind of see black. Yes, what else? I mean, I see like a red to it. Kind of. Yes. Like he just brings out the best in your way of seeing things.
Interesting. Or You do have to be high to see it. Or you have to be on a fucking DMT trip.
That's true.
To understand what these complex colors are supposed to look like. What did you think about the burn?
It burned kind of unevenly in places. I haven't really gotten like, I'm just gonna come out straight and say it. I haven't given a negative burn score in quite a while. I haven't really had any issues unless it was like a direct outage, right? Or it didn't like pass a hold test. That's always like the only time I've really ever harped on negative points for a burn. But I had such odd burn inconsistencies with mine that I was constantly retouching it. And I'm not sure why that was. The wrapper seemed thick enough to me. It did. It was oily enough. I expected a slower burn. But then again, it really wasn't that oily for an Oscuro. I don't know. It was such an anomaly, but I had to constantly retouch that when I got to like the fourth or fifth retouch, just trying to correct the consistency and the evenness of the burn. I was like, okay, I think I got to give it a -1, right? So I had a little bit of a burn issue. But that said, I thought the cigar overall was a pretty solid burn. It was a good 2-3 puffer, 2-3 good hits, and I had a good mouthful of smoke. Came out good. I thought the draw was pretty solid, even for as packed as it was. I thought the burn overall was solid. It was pretty solid, minus that one just constantly retouching.
Mine was good. I would say adequate to good draw, adequate to good smoke production. Nothing that was great. Nothing that, made me go, holy shit, man, this thing's smoking like a champ. I had a pretty even burn line all the way through. I think arguably my favorite part of this, even being as big of a cigar as it is that it was really reluctant to ash. Like that, I love a good compact ash on a cigar. Whereas even if I'm at the point where I know it should fall off before I actually ash onto my crotch, I want to kind of shake that bad boy off a little bit just in preparation that ash is going to fall any moment. I did that, just a little boop, boop, right on the tip. And that motherfucker did not want to ash at all. I actually like that characteristic in a cigar because I like the dense kind of packed tight fillers. I thought the burn it's kind of like what it should be. It didn't wow me overall, but it was like, yeah, this is good. This is kind of what I expected. This is a good experience. So
the thing is, Corey, I struggle with those types of cigars where it's like the ash doesn't want to come off because it's like it wants to go when it wants to go, right? Never when I want it to go.
Well, let it go.
But the thing is it always lands on me.
Oh, what does it do, Chris?
It falls on me.
And what happens?
I brush it off.
And then what happens after that?
Then it does it again.
And then, but does it do anything to hinder the smoking experience at all? Or do you got to wipe a little bit of ash off your pants?
It's like I was doing what's that time of year where you do the whole ash cross thing?
Oh, Ash Wednesday.
Is it called Ash Wednesday?
I'm pretty sure that's going on right now.
It's yeah, probably. But it's like I get a handful of that in my crotch. It's almost always my crotch.
I hope next time, I know you're not, you've been absent from social media, but I'm hoping at some point where you ash on yourself, you take those ashes and you just post a quick video of you just doing it.
I'd get so much shit.
From who?
Christians.
Yeah.
That's not holy ash.
Hey, do we want them?
Fair point. This is 2021.
Yeah.
And we're challenging a lot of our previous belief systems.
Yes, we are. What did you think about the flavor expressions of the cigar?
Okay. Now, I was really concerned about this. As you know, Corey, I was coming off not only a surgery, which affected my taste. I'm just kidding. That'd be fucking crazy, right? It's like, the snip my balls, I lost flavor. But I got sick on top of it, right? So I've been smoking periodically for all last week, trying to figure out when I'm going to get my taste back, right? And it didn't start coming back until yesterday. So I'm thankful I got this chance to smoke a cigar that I was like, it was dog shit, tastes like metal, terrible cigar, right? Because I wouldn't have given it justice. But I think I'm confident enough to get these flavor points relatively well.
Okay.
That I can describe it where you will be able to synergize it at least moderately enough to make me look credible.
Okay.
So
I'll do my best.
I got strong hints of woodiness in the beginning. Like, it was a very woody upfront cigar. Surprisingly, the spice was not as over impacting or overwhelming as I would typically experience in the beginning of a cigar, especially in the nature of it having a lot of Nicaraguan fillers. That said, woodiness seemed to be the most prominent flavor in it, but was nice as I got through about the middle portion, let's say the second, third maybe or so. There was a significant amount of creaminess and smoothness that started to kind of come up underneath the surface, bubbling up underneath all that wood. And from that, I got a lot of creaminess, some good hits of bitters, right? And while I wouldn't say it changed up too much drastically after that, it was a pretty, I don't know how to put it, decent and safe flavor is how I'll put it.
Okay.
Decent and safe. But I did overall like the flavors.
Okay. So when I started smoking the cigar, I had to look back down to make sure that I was smoking what I was intentionally smoking. And the reason I say that is because it reminded me so much of a cigar that I've come to really enjoy as of recent.
All the LFD?
Negative. I got a little bit of pepper at the beginning, but to me, it really had more of those kind of like dark, rich, expressed flavors, the cocoa, the earth, the sweet, the bitter, the balance. What I really liked about it was that it was a very savory cigar. And I've always said this, I've said this 100 times on the podcast. My favorite cigars are savory cigars. They're ones of which have a counterbalance of flavors, right? Mm-hmm. The sweet and salty, or sweet and spice, or bitter and sweet, or an earthiness and cream, or whatever. Ones that kind of, I would say, broaden the spectrum of flavors and aren't so static in form. Things that flavor characteristics that really complement one another, but are contrasting at the same time. That's what I loved about the cigar. It reminded me so much of the Primera Clase by Rodriguez. I literally thought that's what I was smoking. I look down and I go, it's not the same cigar, but by God, and I smoke enough of that cigar. I just smoked one the other day where I knew, like, my brain instantly went there and I was like, fuck, that is absolutely delicious.
Hell yeah.
What I liked about this cigar was the amount of change-ups that it had, but subtle ones, not drastic ones, but kind of subtle change-ups where it's like you feel and you get a sense of an amplification of certain flavors as you move through the cigar, but the flavors overall don't change that much. You just kind of get an amplification of certain things and certain variations of the cigar. And I really like that because I think it offered up a really unique sense of balance, but that amplification of certain things in the cigar, like specifically for me, that kind of cocoa flavor with the bitter flavor is one that I love. I mean, that's what I love in like a coffee, right? I love really bitter, bold coffees. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I got in this, but it was really balanced out nicely with those underlying kind of sweet and creamy notes. To me, I thought the cigar was fantastic in terms of flavor. It's one thing I actually really like about Hiram and Solomon cigars. Now, one thing that we know about their cigars is they're blended and produced at the Plasencia factory. And I've said this over and over again. I actually said this not that long ago because we know Plasencia comes with a price tag, right? You buy a Plasencia cigar, you're paying more than $15 for it. And if you want the Vitola, like let's say, for instance, like this, a 6x56, you're paying north of probably $18 for it. Well, this Hiram and Solomon cigar is a Plasencia cigar, essentially, comes in at an $11 price point. And I always say this, if you want to smoke a Plasencia cigar and you don't want to pay the premium for it, smoke one of their contract brands. Hiram and Solomon is a good example of that. This is a Plasencia cigar. The profile itself screams fucking Plasencia, and it's at half the fucking cost. And the flavors are amazing in the cigar. I absolutely love it. I like that it's kind of bold in your face. Again, I like the amplification of flavors in certain intervals of the cigar, but I like how balanced it is at the same time. I really enjoyed this cigar a lot. I enjoyed smoking it, and unfortunately, I kind of had to rush the experience a little bit to make sure I could get it done in time. And that kind of sucked because I really just wanted to sit down, relax, and smoke it. Now, the great thing is I have 4 more of them.
That's true. We got more.
So I can keep fucking smoking it. which I actually intend to do because I really want to just sit down. This should be about an hour and 45 minute, 2 hour smoke.
Yeah.
I was done with the cigar in about an hour and 20 minutes. Like I really was kind of hustling through it just to make sure that I could get everything done on time. But in terms of flavors overall, man, Hiram and Solomon doesn't really miss, and Plasencia rarely misses. And we just smoked a Plasencia cigar 2 episodes ago, which was the new natural. This cigar is better than that cigar. And I would half the price point.
I would honestly agree with that. Now, there is one thing I learned from you in this episode that Master Mason has not taught me yet. And that is, I don't think my flavor's entirely back yet. But I gave it a really healthy score.
Okay.
So, you you usually pose the question, bro, is it worth $11, right? I would venture to say that we would both agree it's worth $11.
Yes, correct.
It's a big cigar. It's a good 2 hour smoke for anybody. And the flavors, even for me, probably coming off COVID again, I don't know. Still enjoyed it a lot. Like, I really like the woody flavors. Right. I like those earthy, bitter notes. I loved how it got creamy at points towards the middle. And it was great, right? How can you dispute that it's not worth $11? It's fucking $11 for a big ass stick.
It's a donger.
It's a donger, man. It's a donger. Can't deny that. Can't. What you gonna say?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I agree. It's undeniable.
Where's counter argument?
I think
got a counter argument.
I think it's definitely worth $11.
You, Kale, you gonna say a counter argument? Bet you don't. Bet you don't. He's like, what? So I guess the question comes down to scoring, right, bro?
Yep.
Well, I had Master Mason taught me to see beauty and subtleties in everything, including this wrapper and construction of the cigar. I thought the construction was awesome. I think it looks great. My burn, while challenged at points with several corrections I had to do on the wrapper, still great burn score of 19 out of 20. Flavors, I gave it a 26 out of 30. I really love the flavors. I did. And there is no doubt in my mind it's worth $11. My score comes in at a 91.7%, which is highly recommended.
Good score. What was it? A 90 what?
91.7.
Okay. Wowzers. Construction was awesome on this cigar. Yeah. Plasencia made cigar. 10 out of 10. I said everything was kind of adequate to good in terms of the burn, consistent burn line, which I liked. I like the reluctancy to ash. There was no hindrances, so it gets 20 out of 20. Love the flavors of this cigar. I thought it was really well balanced. Again, the expression of flavors overall, and I would say the amplification of certain flavors that I really, really liked at certain intervals in the cigar. Just, dude, this was one that you want to smoke to the end. This is a true finger burner. Even in a 6x56.
Yeah.
This fat slug dong. I also gave it a 26 out of 30 for flavor. And I did say it was worth the price point. My score comes out to a 93.3. That averages out to a 92.5. That's a very high score. And of course, our recommendation would be highly recommended.
Highly recommended.
This cigar is really fucking good. And again, I can't say this enough. You don't want to pay $20 for a Plasencia cigar. Buy something that they contract with. There are many brands. I've named them before. I've said them on the podcast. I've said them on Instagram. I've put it out into the ether. If you want to smoke Plasencia, you don't want to pay $20. Hiram and Solomon. Hiram and Solomon. Just buy them. They're delicious. They're great cigars. I honestly think the Grand Architect has been the worst one, and I think we even scored it at like a 91. The Fellow Craft was an amazing cigar.
Fellow Craft would be good.
Is a great cigar. This is a good cigar, and I love it in this Vitola. It's weird to say because I don't like big Vitolas. I love it in this Vitola because I think I've only ever smoked them in this like 6x52, 6x54, 6x56, which I typically don't do. I love it in this Vitola. I thought it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah. I think there's something to be learned for everyone from Master Mason, you know.
Oh yeah.
See subtlety and beauty and see what others cannot see. Look beyond what is surface level. You know, like right here, for example. What do you see when I point over here? What do you see?
Me?
Oh, you're right next to me. Okay, well, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Actually, yeah, on the recording, it's going to be actually you. I'm pointing to my wall.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
What color do you think that is?
Habano Oscuro Maduro.
Hey, I love that answer. I love that answer because you're right. You're absolutely right. Because in this light, it might look a little bit lighter. You turn off the fucking lights. Sure as fuck a Skiro now, isn't it?
No, it definitely is a Skiro.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm teaching by Master Mason here?
Yeah.
See what I'm showing you?
Now, so Chris, I desperately want to get our walls repainted in this house. Should I ask when he says, what kind of color do you want? I'm like, I really like a Habano Maduro Skiro. Find something like that. And I won't stop looking for someone to do it until they understand exactly what I mean. I want someone to respond and go, I got you.
I got you, man. Oh,
you're
wait.
My guy.
You took Master Mason's classes.
And he goes, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. All right. Let's before we end, let's play a little game of Chris questions. The audience really liked this last episode. And this is more to get to know Chris because he's absent of social media. So we get to ask him some questions. And some of these are easy questions and some of them may be more thought-provoking questions. Chris, are you ready?
Ready. Had to clear my throat of cum.
Chris, question number one. On what occasion do you lie?
About my personal feelings. I'm much better about it now, but I used to bottle it in a lot.
You don't say.
Yeah.
What do you most dislike about your appearance?
Oh, shit. My birthmark on my right knee.
Jesus Christ. Are you serious?
Do you remember that? I used to cover it with a Band-Aid when I was younger, thinking I was like, yeah, I scraped my knee. But it was just me covering up my birthmark.
But you still think that?
Not anymore, but it definitely, that was the first thing that came to mind for sure.
I thought for sure you're going to think your giant nose, but.
Well, it could be that, but it also could be my chin. I don't like my profile because it's like, it's like I don't have a chin.
Yeah, you got to grow a beard.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at that.
I would say, yeah, my nose used to bother me. It doesn't bother me now.
Yeah. I think as you get older, those things get diminished pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Because I think you become more confident and mature and comfortable in yourself to where those things are like, and I think you come to this realization that without surgery, this doesn't change.
Yeah.
And as you get older, your nose gets bigger and your ears get bigger. I actually wanted to ask you this question.
So I have a really small birthmark right here.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Covering that up, which is like totally fucking normal.
I used to wear jeans. I used to wear jeans just to avoid having like shorts. And if I had shorts, the shorts had to cover my knees when I was younger.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Chris.
Okay.
What is a quality you like most in a man?
In a man?
Mm-hmm.
His sensitivities. He's got to be sensitive.
Okay. I thought it was going to be aesthetic, so I was wrong.
Oh.
Like, gotta have a giant dick.
I thought this was a dating profile question you were just asking me, like, oh, he's got to be sensitive.
No. What or who is the greatest love of your life?
What or who is the greatest love of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Greatest who? What or who is the greatest love of my life? This is a sucky question because anybody's gonna be like, well, shouldn't it be your kids?
Right.
What about your spouse? What about your family, Chris?
Yeah.
So I gotta pick one?
Yeah. This is not a question where like, you know how like girls are like, oh, look, it's my BFF. And then like a day later, she's like a new BFF. This is my BFF from blah, blah, blah. And this is my BFF. You only get one best friend. That's why it's called a best friend. You can't have 7 best friends. So you only choose one.
One thing I love, a what or a who. I'm going to pull this one out of left field. I love a 48-inch pike.
Jesus Christ. Did you go fishing with us this year?
I'm going to try to. That brought me the greatest joy and love ever when I caught that pike.
Like the one that breached the water?
Yeah. It gave me so much fucking joy.
That was dope. That was really dope. I must admit, like that, dude, that fishing trip was fucking a blast.
Yes, it was.
That was I remember when you caught that. It was a sunny day. We were back in the cove. It was blazing hot. We decided to go up in the shallows thinking we were going to catch shit up there. We were next to that fucking rich ass golf course that I'm pretty sure slaves were on. Almost positive there was slavery there. It was like some shit out of like the movie Get Out. And we're just trolling up the fucking sides. And the next thing you know, you cast out and it was a far cast. I remember casting towards the mouth of
towards
the
a tree. Yeah. Towards a tree.
Like, and we're like, what the fuck? Dude, that pike, I will never forget that. That thing was dope.
Love of my life.
Blazing fuck, which is weird because pike usually it's like musky, really like that cloudy, gloomy weather. Dude, it was like bright and sunny in a weird spot, and you just fucking nailed that thing. That was awesome. That was a good moment.
Love of my life.
I dig that. You've sold it to me. Which talent would you like to most have?
Ooh. Most talent I like to have. Ooh, it's a good one. There's a lot of things I want to do. Be happy with everything. Be grateful for everything.
That's a talent?
I think so. I think it's a skill that has to be learned. And I think there's a certain amount of skill and talent that has to come with being grateful and finding gratitude and even the smallest of things and appreciating what you have versus what you don't have and complaining about things you don't have. So yeah, it would greatly better my life and make me more happy. So humility maybe and gratitude.
Did you just therapize this show?
I totally did.
I thought you were going to be like, God, I would love to be a ventriloquist.
But funny enough, that hasn't even been a subject with my therapist.
You'll get there. 2 more questions. How would you like to die?
Oh, I've said this so many times. Well, I haven't said this particular thing so many times, but I'll give you generalities. And if you want specifics, I'll think of one on the spot. But I've always wanted to die in the most obscure but heroic way.
Okay.
Like something that is so blatantly not believable, but doesn't embarrass me or my family.
Like Chris died frozen, jerking off.
Yeah, something like that. He died deep throwing a beer bottle, like stupid shit like that. I don't want that. But like something like crazy heroic or just so hugely like outlandish. So I don't know, maybe like he was, I don't know. There's so many things that are running through my head. Like he died riding a whale to the bottom of the ocean. like something like that. Like he just went out, man. Fucking went through the trench, man. With the Challenger Deep riding a fucking whale. No snorkel. Bitch rode a sperm whale all the way down to the fucking Challenger Deep.
Now I am adamantly against the use of the word epic. That's exactly what that would be. I could see you like saddle on a horseback, like arm in the air, going straight to the fucking bottom, like where everything just starts getting black. It's blue, and then just turns black, and it's just a silhouette of you just riding that thing all the way to the bottom.
It's like riding out on in the sunset like a cowboy, but just totally different.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good one. Last question, Chris. Sure. What is your motto?
Oh, do I have a motto? I'm trying to think.
Could it be like ride whales in the sea?
If Master Mason's taught me anything,
hold up your wrist to the camera. What does it say?
No wind, no waves. Oh, I do kind of like that still. No wind, no waves. That's not bad. Because what it means, even though it is scientifically inaccurate,
it's very scientifically inaccurate. I just realized that.
Yeah.
It's so scientifically inaccurate. It has to do literally with the moon's gravity, right? Like that is the reason why we have ocean waves.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Hey. There's no doubt that wind has
on your fucking wrist.
Hey, there's no doubt that wind does play a part in waves. Don't get me wrong, but it is not the main factor, right?
Right.
So, but what it means is
that's hilarious.
What it means is basically you got to put in effort to see a result. Like there's some impacting force that creates some sort of outcome.
Yeah, you should.
What? Is she getting covered up?
She got removed. I would love for someone to look at it and go, it's not true at all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. All right. I think that's I leaned on my keyboard so hard. One of my scores turned into a series of Z's. So I got to make sure I correct that. That's great. That's funny. Chris's motto, no wind, no wave. Not scientifically proven. You should get a tattoo below that in parentheses. Not based on scientific fact.
Yeah, that's true. Neil deGrasse would give me shit for this one.
No, he for sure will. Maybe we'll submit this clip to him and see what he says. Hey, Neil deGrasse Tyson, what do you think about Chris's wrist tattoo that says no wind, no waves? What's your belief scientifically about that? He would break you down for probably an hour.
Probably.
Yeah, that'd be funny. All right, let's get it. I got beer and pizza to eat. This will conclude episode 187. It's crazy. We're creeping up on 200. I would highly encourage everybody to visit our show sponsor,
My Cigar Pack.
My Cigar Fudge Pack. The pack that I received this month, which they are currently randomizing based on certain flavor characteristics and profiles. The one that I received this month was the dopest pack I've received yet. I actually posted a picture of the pack on Instagram and people were like, holy shit, that's really a 5-pack. It's really a fucking 5-pack. So you can visit mycigarpack.com, enter in promo code HOT10 at checkout, $10 off your first pack, which is a really reduced rate for the cigars that you're going to get within these packs. And don't forget that they also have the Factory Direct program, which is an awesome program. The last Factory Direct cigars that I received, dude, I'm telling you right now, I say this all the fucking time. These things are sub fucking $5. They're unique blends. They're things that are only done for My Cigar Pack. And I'm telling you right now, the majority of the ones that I've had have been absolutely fucking phenomenal. In addition to those cigars being phenomenal, we're working on some things.
Working on
them. They'll be in the works soon. I'm not going to say too much of what they are, but it's going to be really cool. It's going to be cooler than some of the things we've done recently, and details are to follow. Also visit www.hotticketweekly.com. We have all of our podcasts on the website. We also have written reviews of each one of the cigars we review every single week. This week, I put out the Espinosa Murcielago. So that is active on the site now. You can go check out that review. News.
Is that how Italians say it?
Murcielago.
Murcielago.
Matchi. I don't know. But
Murcielago.
it's bat, I ended up finding out. So not as cool as I thought it was originally. I did in the review say get rid of the fucking elementary class artwork for the band. Put that in there because it really pisses me off. But you can check out that review now, www.hotticketweekly.com. Anything else, Chris? What am I missing?
Just be good to one another. You know,
that's your motto.
That's my motto. No way.
Get that tattooed on the other wrist.
I really should.
All right. Yeah. Be good to one another. Get vaccinated. Oh, it just got political. Just kidding. Numbers in decline. We've hit here herd immunity. All right. So let's conclude. This is episode 187. We'll be back at you next week with 188. See you, everyone.
Be good to one another.